Hey, what's up you guys, Loco here. For today's LLL, we're going to do a mid-season check-in. It's been 5 weeks of LCS, and every team has played every other team at least once. Because it's 10 games and there's only 9 teams, or there's 10 teams and you play 9 opponents, some teams have played another team twice. But still, it's a really good time to check up on all the LCS teams, how they have been doing, how my predictions have been doing, and what we can expect for the future, who will make playoffs, who won't make playoffs. It'll be a two-parter. For the first part, we'll start with the top 5 teams, and then for the second part, we'll do the bottom 5 teams. So yeah, let's start with the top 5 teams. The first team we have for you is Cloud9. They are 10-0. They are undefeated. They are the best team in NA so far, no questions asked. What to say about them? It's not the fact that they are 10-0 that's really impressive. It's how they've been winning the games. It's been extremely quick. It's been extremely clean. And it's been extremely consistent. They get ahead early game. They are consistently stacking dragons. They get Dragon Souls so many of the times, and they know exactly when to pull the trigger in terms of really going for that game-ending push. There's a lot of times where they're doing the push 20 minutes into the game, where they're waiting and just baiting Baron until like 25 minutes into the game. They have a really good read on when to go for the jugular and when to really make that game-winning play, and that's what makes them so scary. They're just incredibly well-rounded as a team. We've seen teams be dominant in LCS before, the old Immortals roster, the old TSM roster, the recent Team Liquid roster of 2019 and 2018, but they were very stylized. They had one way of winning, and they were just really good at that one way of winning. This C9 is a different monster altogether. They have 3 legitimate lanes they can carry through, and they just have a really good hold on the macro. So the big question for them is, are they going to be 18-0? Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think C9 overall as a team and as a staff recognizes that 18-0 is pretty meaningless, and it's more so about how ready are you for playoffs. So yeah, they've externally said they don't really care about the 18-0, and you can also see from their recent pick and bans that they've been experimenting a lot more on stage. So I don't think that is a real goal for them. Rather, they want to improve and make sure they are in the best form going into playoffs. So that's C9, 10-0, incredibly dominant, and we can only expect more good things to come. Second team we have is FlyQuest. They are 7-3. So the 2 new additions to FlyQuest, Pyre Evil and Ignar, these 2 have been popping off. I think Pyre Evil especially has made his name as one of the best mid laners in the league right now. I know a lot of people are going to bring up Niski, but I think Niski and Pyre Evil bring a very different flavor to the team. Pyre Evil is way more lane focused, way more team fight carry focused, where Niski is much more of a team player. He likes roaming around. He doesn't care that much if he falls behind in lane, and overall he has more dependable side lanes and carries that he can depend on, like Ziben versus Turtle, Licorice versus Viper. So yeah, Niski is just more of a Doinbi type mid, where Pyre Evil has been more of a traditional carry mid laner, and it's been really paying off for them. The way Pyre Evil carries team fight, like the way he's positioning, the way he's understanding threats, have been really good. And on top of that, the meta has been very favorable for him. The champions he's been playing, stuff like Victor, stuff like Corki, is right in his wheelhouse, and yeah, he's just been doing really well. But all the credit can't go to Pyre Evil alone. There is a partner in crime that's been helping him a lot. Normally it would be the jungler, but it's actually been Ignar. Ignar has been very on point, much like Pyre Evil. The meta has been great for him. A lot of the engaged supports, Nautilus, Leona, Rakan has been in the meta, and Ignar is excellent on those. The way Pyre Evil and Ignar work together has been really a key part of FlyQuest's success. All the experience of them playing in Misfits have actually been very relevant, and they just have really good synergy with each other. It actually reminds me a lot of Bjergsen and Lustboy in 2014 and 2015. Lustboy would be so good about giving Bjerg a lead in mid lane by roaming, and also in side lanes he would just be really on point about when to call for the support, and they would get things done together. The rest of FlyQuest have just been doing their jobs. I don't think Centauran and Turtle have been anything too special, but Viper on the other hand stands out as a weak link on the team. Currently he's averaging minus 9.1 CS differential at 10 minutes. It's dead last in the league. Yes, I know he doesn't get the resources, but still, if he was on a different roster putting up this kind of performance, I think a lot of analysts and fans would have a lot more negative things to say about him. But anyways, FlyQuest, very well-oiled machine. I do have to give credit to the coaching staff. It seems like the entire team is on the same page, and they're just utilizing the new additions to the team very well. Now, in third place, we have my former home team, TSM. They're currently at 6-4. they had a rather slow start to the season, but they're really picking up steam. Initially, at the start of the season, they were drafting very, very aggressive comps, and they would fumble a lot and get outscaled, and they picked up a few losses they really shouldn't have in the early part of the season. So they adjusted their focus to scaling a little bit more, especially with Kabe playing a lot more of his comfort like Xayah, and they picked up a lot of wins off of that. Now that they feel comfortable with the team, they've been doing a lot more of the aggressive drafts, like Reaper has pointed out with their recent Talia Pantheon mid jungle and also the Renekton Akali for solo lanes. It hasn't always been working, but they do show aggression and they are finding a good balance regarding who they want to be as a team. With this kind of approach, if TSM can get all the pieces to click together, they actually do have a pretty good shot at being a really dominant team in North America. I think their scoreline actually speaks for themselves. They started the season 0-2, and they've only dropped 2 games, and it's been to the 2 teams that are above them in standing, C9 and FlyQuest. So yeah, this TSM is on the up and up. Now let's talk about the individual players for a bit. Let's go top to bottom. Broken Blade has been looking like his 2019 spring self, not his 2019 summer self, which has been really good for TSM. He's been mechanically really solid. His laning has always been top notch, but also he's showing a lot of variety. He's played pretty much a different champion every single time, other than the 2 repeat games on Ornn. So yeah, I think he's been the second best top laner in the league, and I think it's arguable to say he's even the best top laner in the league, considering that Licorice is on C9 and Broken Blade is on TSM. For Dardoch, he's been exactly what I expected out of him. He's been a really dangerous player in the early game, and his engage is still one of the best in the league. But when it comes to mid and late game, and also in teamfights, I feel like he gets lost and he doesn't know exactly what he should be doing. He isn't a ward yet. He still is keeping a lot of that Dardoch flavor, but yeah, I do want to see Josh be better in mid and late game, especially on where to be on the map and how he's playing out the team fights after he's done engaging. So this is where I'm going to get a lot of hate from the TSM fans. I don't think Bjergsen has been the de facto best mid laner anymore, and he's still putting up a lot of solid carry performances, but most of it is when he is on Syndra. I would love to see him still put up those carry performances outside of Syndra. Finally, for Kabe and Bio, they've just been a very consistent part of TSM. They play consistently well in lane, and they do consistently well in teamfights. Not much more, not much less. I think this TSM roster has been pretty exciting. Considering what we were given the last 2 years, I'm very positive about this roster, and I can't wait to see what they look like going into the second half of LCS. Now, at number 4, we have Immortals. They're currently 5-5. Honestly, they're not a team I expected to be up here, but that's what I get for underestimating Xmithdi. The roster isn't anything special. They don't have any kind of mechanical standout player, a player that can really be a win condition for them, but they are very honest with the roster they have, and they are getting the most out of them. They like drafting and playing to scale, and I really do think that is the way they should go. They are almost never up early game. They average minus 1004 gold at 15 minutes. Yikes. They also spent a lot of time in game in major deficit, but when it comes to late game decision making, this is where this roster is really shining. How they approach splitting the map, playing around major objectives like Baron or Elder Dragon, they just do it better than a lot of the middling teams in LCS, and this is how they're picking up wins. A lot of the credit for that has to go over to the coaching staff and Xmithdi and Soaz. Yeah, these are the veteran players making the decisions in game, and it's just been working for them. I do expect this team to drop in placement as we get later on in the season. The other teams are going to start figuring things out, and when they aren't as much of a mess later on in the game, it's going to be harder and harder for Immortals to pick up wins. Finally, in 5th place, we have Dignitas. They're also tied with Immortals for 5-5. This is a team that started the season white hot, but they've been cooling off. They're 2-4 in the last 3 weeks that they played, and the rigidness of their solo lanes are really starting to show. Huni has traditionally been a hard carry player, and in the spring, the most dominant picks in top lane have been Ornn, Sett, and Soraka. So he really isn't getting his chance to shine. Froggen hasn't been as big of a problem since the control mages he plays are very much on meta, and he's actually been one of the more positive parts of the team, but his disappointing echo game has me worried for the future in the case that the meta does shift away from what is Froggen's core picks and his specialties. Also, earlier on in the season, I think they had a really good read on how they wanted to play around Herald and how they wanted to swap around to play around Herald, and Johnson was really good on Aphelios and Senna compared to the other AD carries that struggled to pick up those 2 champions. But now we're halfway through the season, and a lot of the other teams have picked up how to play around Herald and also how to play Aphelios and Senna, except for Doublelift. So yeah, their edge that was there in the earlier parts of the season isn't there anymore. I think for Dig to do well, it's really going to depend on how they work around the limitations of their players. And yeah, that's just going to define whether they become a playoff team and keep their spot, or they drop off and they're going to be left looking outside in. So I hope you enjoyed this part 1 of Locodoco LCS mid-season check-in. Part 2 will be coming out very, very shortly. And I love you all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Really do subscribe. It helps me a lot. You watch my videos. You support me. I feel good about myself. I make more videos. And one last thing, I'm not crazy. I'm just Loco. Bye.